Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the late June episode of Cotton Grower Magazine's Cotton Companion podcast. I'm Jim Stedman, editor of Cotton Grower. With me, as always, my colleague and friend, Beck Barnes. Well, Beck, the calendar, which of course does not lie, tells us that summer is now officially upon us. You agree with that?
Yeah. I don't think we would need the calendar to know what time it is, what time of year it is. Because man, we are in the throes of our first real heat wave of the season here in Memphis. I mean, I think we're going to be touching well north of triple digits here by the end of the week. This week, it's June 27 as we pod, and yeah, well, I will say, Jim, and I would hope you would agree. I'm not going to can't complain because we had a very pronounced spring.
Yes.
Here in the Mid-South, and I think in much of the Delta. And it's been pleasant. You know, we have very nice spring. And so, yeah, it's just that time of year. You know, we got to, and I know that cotton is going to love it. The cotton, take all the heat you can give it out there.
Well, that's true. And you know, not only is the heat settling in over the Mid-South, but it's arrived, I think, in most areas of the Cotton Belt, especially out in Texas. I think everything seems to be in this cycle of a few days of brutal heat, followed by some showers or storms, and then going right back into the heat. And granted, we've got much of the U.S. cotton crop seems to be running just a little bit behind schedule due to the, cool, wet conditions earlier. So this hot weather, probably just what's needed to catch it up a little bit. I think the USDA crop progress report this week showed that 95% of the cotton crop is now planted, and that's up 6 points from a week ago. Squaring's now reported in 28% of the crop. That's up 9 points in the past week. And a very small percentage of boll set has also been reported. But it's also showing that this total crop is about 3 to 5% behind the 5-year average for most of these categories. And you talk to folks in the industry and they will tell you we're 2 weeks. We're 2 weeks behind right now. But this hot weather, we're going to see how much progress this crop can make here in the next couple of weeks. The cotton condition numbers, just a little bit of slight improvement in the past week. 49% of the crop rated good to excellent. That's up 2 points. 33% of the crops rated fair, which is unchanged in the past week. And 18% is rated poor, very poor, which is it says it's down 2 points, but that's actually a positive move for that category. So forecast for the Cotton Belt over the next week and a half, more heat, followed by more rain. We'll see how long this weather cycle holds out. And weather, of course, one thing the cotton markets are watching closely. As of today, prices are still bogged down in the high 70s, low 80s range, just like they've been for the last several months. But everybody's keeping their eyes now on USDA planted acres report that comes out this week on June 30th. Initial predictions for a smaller total crop than was forecast back in March. We're going to see how that plans out and certainly see how the market reacts. And the market will react.
Yeah, the market will. And I know one group, Jim, that is watching that crop output forecast is going to be those the American cotton shippers. And so wouldn't you know it, I know that you just recently got back from being out there in Park City, Utah with the American Cotton Shippers Association. You flew out there to kind of take notes, keep tabs on that important segment of the industry with our good friend, Buddy Allen, who's the new, I believe, the president of AXA.
Right. So
can you just generally, Jim, tell me a little bit about your trip out there? How was your flight and how'd you find Park City, Utah?
Well, I'll admit, it's obviously an unusual place for a cotton industry meeting, but it's not an unusual location for a meeting of AXA.
Yeah, probably not a whole lot of row crop going on around there.
No, not a lot of row crop. There's way too much vertical ground out there. Beautiful vertical ground, I will tell you that. But no, trip out was fine. Connected from Memphis through Denver over to Salt Lake. Very little problem. Pretty much everything was on schedule there and coming back, thank goodness. Park City, of course, sits right up on top of one of the mountains, just in the Salt Lake City area. Beautiful, beautiful area. Um, if you have a little bit of vertigo, you don't want to be looking out the car window over the edge. Um, but for the most part, it's an ideal location for a meeting. You're kind of isolated, but at the same time, you're surrounded with this group of people, and I think there were probably maybe 200 people total at this meeting. But everybody was there, all focused on on some of the issues that the shipping side, marketing and shipping side of the cotton industry are dealing with at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're kind of hitting on my next question there. We know that our shippers are such a crucial segment of cotton's journey, and we know that they're vital partners for our growers. So can you just tell us some of the major takeaways from their annual meeting?
Sure. A couple of really, really interesting discussions during the business sessions for the meetings. And we certainly obviously appreciate the opportunity to be there and participate in those. But one of the primary sessions was on carbon sequestration and carbon programs and what that's going to mean to the overall industry, particularly from the shipping perspective, also down to the grower perspective. And the fact that there seems to be so many different definitions and so many different programs out there. And the panel that was there really did a great job in kind of identifying some of the key factors and things to watch out for, maybe some of the trends that are coming in terms of carbon. And it's going to make a fascinating article for the pages of Cotton Grower here coming up in the next month or so. Also, a political panel trying to bring the group up to date, certainly on the status of the Farm Bill, but also just in terms of the attitudes and the prevailing mood in Washington these days, and how complicated it is to work on legislation and to get things done. It's not something that they see any immediate improvement coming on, but the optimism is there that the Farm Bill will again have bipartisan support, that it will pass. It's still going to be quite a bit of debate on it in certain areas of the Farm Bill, and the strong possibility that the current Farm Bill may get extended if they feel like they're close to getting the new bill done, but not quite within the time frame they need to get it done. So time will tell. Everybody was optimistic. We'll keep working ahead on that. It was interesting too from the AXA perspective, because like many other parts of the cotton industry, they're also very politically active. And it was interesting to sit and watch their little fundraiser activities among the group to help fund some of those Washington activities. It's amazing how quickly a group can raise a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, I was gonna say little, probably not the right adjective for the.
Yeah, it was an auction.
Yeah,
and I kept my hands in my pockets because it was definitely way out of my league.
Yeah,
on it, but there were some amazing items that went up for auction, and again, it was very successful from their perspective. I think they're going to be able to do quite a bit of good for the industry.
Yeah, I'll just say I think that this time of the Farm Bill cycle, when it's really the sausage is getting made,
right?
Boy, it's kind of the clearest view you get of how good cotton's associations are and the work that they put in and kind of navigating that complex system, have an input on that Farm Bill. Where we just that's one of the strengths of our industry is our association's presence, our association's cumulative presence up there on Capitol Hill.
Definitely. And the other part in this too is it was good to see the cooperation and the cohesiveness of objectives and programs between AXA and the National Cotton Council. They seem very much in lockstep with each other in terms of what they want to get done and how they're going to do it. So that from an industry perspective, I think will make a lot of these programs simpler and and well coordinated is probably the best term for it at this point as we move through the rest of this legislative year.
Yeah.
But that's that said, in this episode, we're going to focus on weed control. Some of the challenges already showing up with this year's crop, some things that might be coming to help in this ongoing battle with weeds. But before we get to that segment, we do have some breaking news from the industry. Actually, a couple of items that broke this morning. And first came from the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol regarding the new Climate Smart Cotton Program.
Yeah, Jim. I think most of our growers will probably remember several months back when the news hit that the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol was one of these programs that received a Climate Smart grant from the federal government, and it was quite a nice grant. I believe the dollar figure was around $90 million over 5 years that the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol would be receiving as part of this Climate Smart funding. And so fast forward to just this morning, as you say, and the news broke there. So U.S. cotton growers can now apply through September 1st for the Climate Smart Cotton Program. It's a 5-year initiative. It's going to be led by the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, as we just alluded to. And the program aims to measure and improve the carbon footprint of the U.S. cotton industry while building on the 4 pillars of climate smart agricultural practices. Participating growers are going to receive technical and financial support, as well as other benefits that can enhance their operations, profitability, and importantly, their environmental stewardship. So the program's stated goals are to provide technical and financial assistance to U.S. cotton farmers, to advance adoption of the climate smart agricultural practices in 1.2 million U.S. cotton acres, easy for me to say, to produce 4.2 million bales of climate smart cotton over 5 years, to enroll 1,650 U.S. cotton farmers, including 330 farmers from historically underserved communities, and to reduce CO2 emissions by 1.14 million metric tons. So those are some lofty goals. A key one for our guys to pay attention to there. We're trying to enroll 1,650 cotton farmers. So understand that applications will be approved on a first-come, first-served basis. To be eligible, growers must first complete enrollment in the Trust Protocol by September 1st and upload their 2023 bales by March 1 of 2024. Growers are encouraged to get started on this today to be sure you secure a spot in the program and to maximize benefits. I think there are about 13,000 farms out there in the U.S. Cotton Belt. And so, they're taking 1,650 of y'all. So again, first come, first serve. Do not tarry. Get on this thing if you're interested. So to do that, growers can apply for the Climate Smart Cotton Program and enroll in the Trust Protocol at www.trustuscotton.org.
That's great. And this is finally we're starting to see the details of this program. It's sort of been alluded to, but not in any specifics. So it's good to see the concrete points of this program outlined. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, absolutely. I was agreeing with this. I'm excited for our growers to dive in.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, we've got another news item. News flash dropped into our inboxes earlier today, and we can't wait. We've got to share this news. It's what today? June 27th, right, Beck?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, news came across that Alamo, Texas, once again home to the first bale 2023 cotton season.
I saw that. Okay.
Wesley Vanderpool, who also had the first bale last year, harvested on Tuesday, June 20th, after planting Stumville 4990 B3XF back on February 7th. This Vanderpool's harvested bale was the gin at Willacy Co-op Gin in Sebastian, Texas. That bale will be auctioned off at the annual First Bale of Cotton auction and scholarship fundraiser, September 14th in Harlingen, Texas. So congratulations again to Wesley Vanderpool for this what's becoming an annual achievement appears for him and his farm.
Yeah, well done. Always insane to me to think, we just got done talking about planting almost being, got, I think, 5% left to plant. And these folks are baling.
And they're already harvesting. Yeah.
Insane.
Oh, well, it's the joys of South Texas.
Yeah.
Anyway, now moving ahead, June 21st, the first field day of the season, I think, outside of South Texas was held in Jackson, Tennessee. It was the traditional University of Tennessee Weed Field Day, and that's always headed up by Dr. Larry Steckel, Tennessee Extension Weed Specialist. It's always a good time to see what kind of problems are moving to the top of the list this season. Find out a little bit about some of the new herbicides and herbicide mixtures that are being evaluated right now, and look at some new technologies that could potentially help save a little bit of time, provide some cost savings in these weed wars that we wage from year to year. So as has become tradition, I visited with Larry after the field day to talk about some of the research programs, some of the challenges for this year, and to get his perspective on what's here and what's coming to help. We talked for a few minutes beside a shade tree near his research plots, so if you hear some background noise and momentary drops in dialogue, I apologize. But I think you're going to get the gist of the discussion. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Dr. Larry Steckel. We're back in Jackson, Tennessee, the West Tennessee Research and Extension Center for Larry Steckel's annual Weed Field Day. It seems to be a tradition, Larry. We come out and take a look. This is like the first field day of the year.
It's got to be one of the first. I don't know of any that are really ahead of it. So. We always try and have it usually the second or third week in June, more often than not the third week of June. But we've never had it on a day with weather like this. This has been unbelievably good for a field day.
Yes, Larry's looking around. It's like slightly overcast. The sun's kind of coming through, maybe 77, 78 degrees. It's a no-sweat field day for the first time I can ever remember.
Absolutely. It's usually a cooker. By now, everybody can't wait to get in their truck and turn the air conditioning on. So,
yeah. So, we're some little energy savings here at this point.
Exactly.
And everything. Like I said, I'm talking with Larry Steckel. He's Extension Weed Specialist at the University of Tennessee. And I might add, a newly minted fellow of the Southern Weed Science Society. And congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. That's quite an honor. There's a lot of really good weed scientists in the South, and to be among those is really an honor.
Well, congratulations on that. So I'm just going to run through a few things for little notes that I made as part of our walking tour out here and kind of get your reaction to them a little bit. We do seem to be off to a decent start this year, maybe a little bit slow, kind of rough in places. What sort of challenges in weed control are you seeing right now?
Well, the weed control challenges kind of evolved. So early on, it was ryegrass, and just we were starting to have issues in Tennessee like they've been struggling with in Mississippi for a long time. Mm-hmm. Just really becoming a huge problem trying to burn down a head of corn and cotton and soybeans, and then also just in our wheat as a weed in our wheat. So it's really been a problem there. We're more and more going to have to adopt what Jason Bond and some of them have been advocating in Mississippi is some fall applications, things like that, or try and get ahead of it.
Mm-hmm. Pigweed?
And then more recently, it's been nothing but pigweed. My phone's been very constant with it. Lots of pictures from people all over showing me pigweed not dying from dicamba. So that's been the number one issue right now. And trying to, what do we do now? And really follow-up application with Liberty's been the most effective thing, if it's timely, if you can get out there within a week or so. And if they're waiting 2+ weeks, yikes, it's too long, and it's coming back. So that's been really a thing. And then just kind of the level of resistance some of the folks are seeing in some fields. A lot of fields has been building, and it's been about 2x resistant to dicamba. So you may or may not see it. You can usually get it with a second shot of dicamba. That's not been the case in some of these fields now. With second shots, which has not been very functional. So we're starting to see that next step, just like we did with Roundup 15 years ago, where it went from, borderline kind of resistant, low-level resistance to can't put the jug on it and to kill it resistant. And we're starting to see that process with dicamba now.
Well, you mentioned, looking at options and different things out there. And walking around today, one of the first things that jumped out at me is premixes. There seem to be several premixes into research at this point. Obviously, registration's pending and things like that. How are those working, and who's working with those?
Well, there's a lot of companies working with them. A lot of, getting some pretty complex 4-way premixes like the Syngenta Storm 4-way premixers and a lot of 3-ways. So and a lot of them are really looking good. So from a farmer standpoint, I think it makes life a lot easier. You don't have to dump 4 different things or 3 different things in. You can just dump the one thing in and you're good to go with a pre-measured rate. And that makes life so much easier, and it's hard enough to get those applications on. So anything you do to make it easier for those applicators is a good thing. And there are multiple modes of action. So there's been controlling these weeds from with the metribuzin, and then maybe with a dual or a Zidua, and then maybe, even putting ALS inhibitors. A pigweed's been resistant to it for a long time, but they still have some value to bring. Particularly, we're starting to see things like the morning glory species. We're seeing more of those in some cases, and they really can help out there.
High load.
Yeah, there's a number of Okay. Yeah, there's a bunch of companies coming with the high-load glufosinate. So the major benefit with it is you don't have to drag as many jugs around to spray the same field. So it's just a lot less transportation cost and storage costs for the company, for the retailers, and for the farmer. So those are the biggest pluses for it. Otherwise, it's just Liberty. I mean, it's functioning. Everything we've seen, it's functioning just like Liberty does. You just got to use, in some cases, half the rate. Some things is 2/3 the rate, depending on how much they've changed the formulation.
Sure. One of the things I think we talked about a little bit last year was the studies you had going out with Zidua, going out with fertilizer, and those plots look really, really clean. What's your thoughts?
Oh, I love that. And it's really catching on in Tennessee. A lot of acres went out in the last 2 weeks with Zidua on the fertilizer, and it's going to kind of be the standard thing in Tennessee now. With a lot of farmers are really starting to. Well, I had some turn road discussions with farmers out looking at their fields, really becoming concerned with the lack of control they're seeing with dicamba. So they realize they got to start implementing and integrating other tools. And that's one of the real bright spots, because it's one of the few herbicides you can put on cotton. You don't see any injury. I mean, that's almost nothing else will do that, it seems like. So you can seem like you see a little surfactant burn sometimes with Liberty or Roundup, but there's absolutely no injury. So the cotton just keeps right on gallant, and you can get shade quicker.
Is this year you're going to see some hoods come back out?
Absolutely. In fact, I had a call yesterday because they've forgotten what they used to put in a hood. What to use in it, because they were getting the chainsaw out and going to the fence row and claiming one of the hoods that were pushed in there. The brush had grown around, So and I'll get back to the paraquat, Fowler in the hood, trying to knock down big pigweed and cotton. Whatever works. It was what we did 10 years ago when we lost Roundup and we're scrambling. So
one of the things you mentioned out there, that this is kind of the year resistance, and we've got regulation, and some of this regulation is going to impact some of the products that you use for weed control in this area. What's the situation on that?
Yeah, there's a number of things from the regulation standpoint that has a lot of the weed scientists concerned. Notably here in Tennessee is Cotoran and some of the restrictions where we just can't use Cotoran in a number of counties. And that's really, because Cotoran's the number one herbicide we use pre-emergence in Tennessee on cotton. And we don't use it by itself.
Right.
It always goes with something else. It goes with Caprol, or it goes with Prowl, or it goes with Break. And it makes those pre's better because it doesn't need much water to get activated, which is one of the reasons I think it's being regulated. But it doesn't make much water to be activated. So we can kind of bridge the gap to when those others get enough rain to be activated.
Right.
And kind of pick the baton up and go from there. And I'm afraid our pre's won't be as consistently controlling pigweed in particular without Cotoran in the mix. And then we're relying more on post-emergence herbicides, which aren't working as well. So it really puts us in a bind.
Sure. Well, I noticed there were a few studies out there with Caprol and something else, just to kind of see what they would do without the Cotoran.
We're trying to be proactive and kind of look ahead 3 years to see what questions our farmers are going to have, trying to work around either new resistance issues or regulation issues, and hopefully maybe have an answer ahead of when we get into a problem.
Yeah. Now, last year we talked a bit about Elite 27, BASF's new product to go with their accent system. But from what I understand, some of these regulations are going to limit where in the state of Tennessee that product can be used.
Yeah, big time limit. Only 5 counties. It's the river counties that we can use in Obion and Lake and Dyer and Tipton and Lauderdale. But yeah, so it's going to limit us to those counties. But what do the other counties do? And that's the issue, because being able to use that herbicides are going to be a big deal in cotton. There's clearly it's going to bring a lot to the table, and we even saw it here where dicamba wasn't working as well. You put Elite 27 in with it, it's picking up those pigweeds. So we really need that. And I think BASF's looking at trying to get the label expanded. I don't know where all that is, but that's another regulatory hurdle that's kind of hurting us on the 2Rs.
Sure. Now, the other thing, obviously, that I think a lot of people came out to see, in addition to listen to your talk, describe and all the work you have going, was the See and Spray unit.
Oh yeah,
John Deere and Blue River. What are your impressions on that? What's it going to mean for weed control, and what's it going to mean for growers?
Well, I've been really impressed with it. We've done, you saw the research, but we've done a number of research plots with it, and really the systems work very well. So it can really help us kind of get around the 2Rs in some cases, help mitigate that. So one of the tests you saw out there was using the See and Spray system and being able to document how we're using atrazine more effectively and less of it in the field, using the See and Spray system than just overspraying. And that can be another one of these mitigation points that the EPA can add to the label that a farmer then could use atrazine in the field that maybe he wouldn't be able to otherwise. Right. So it's going to help from the regulatory standpoint. It's also going to really potentially help a lot from the resistance standpoint. And the sky's kind of the limit with that technology. I think it's really going to be very helpful going forward. In that, some of these chemical companies may have a herbicide sitting in a closet somewhere that was way too pricey, but if you're only spraying 30% of the field, all of a sudden maybe mathematically it makes sense, and maybe we can get a new herbicide because of that. Also being more effective with the herbicides we got and targeting the weeds. The way that thing can make it better at managing weeds with some liberty, and then some of the things just getting around less injury to the crop, and the crop can grow more rapidly, shade the ground quicker, and do something that you don't pour out of a jug, but kind of a roundabout way helps the crop get to canopy quicker.
Sure.
So
now mentioned out there that Tennessee is one of 5 universities that Blue River and Deere are working with on this with these plant units. In addition, Arkansas, Purdue, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech. What's the goal? I mean, what's the objective that you have working with them in terms of volume?
So it's been a real collaboration between all of us. And I mean, I give an example with that atrazine. That was when we all put together, when we started to see the regulations coming out, being introduced by the EPA, that they were only going to let you use so much atrazine on a given field, but you had to jump. The farmer's going to have to jump through several hoops. They got to have a cover crop. They've got to have terraces. They've got to have filter strips. Well, they need to expand that. So, because a lot of farmers are doing stuff now that ought to be in there. They're using swath control. Mm-hmm. They're doing, there's a lot of things like that. But this could be another thing they could put on there that they're using that'll let them use atrazine in the field at a rate that's herbicidal that otherwise they wouldn't be able to from a regulatory standpoint. And so we all got together as a collaborative universities with Blue River to put that research together, and that was the goal of mine, to have this data for that.
Great. Larry, thank you. I appreciate it for taking time. It's been a busy morning. It's been a comfortable morning.
Yes.
For once, and I'm sure when we come back down here in September for the cotton field day, it won't be quite it will not be quite as comfortable as this. But anyway, I appreciate you taking time.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll check in with you later.
All right. Well, thank you.
Well, all right. That's going to just about do it for this episode of the Cotton Companion Podcast. We want to thank our old friend, Dr. Larry Steckel, for taking time to visit with Jim to share his insight on the current weed control challenges and possible solutions. And as always, we want to thank you, our dear listeners, for joining us. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. And if you did like what you heard, please be sure and spread the word. Tell your friends and farming neighbors about the Cotton Companion Podcast. Here's where and how they can find us.
You can find the Cotton Companion in 3 easy ways. First, go to cottongrower.com/companion, or simply click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Second, subscribe to our channel on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts these days. And 3, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, the Cotton Grower e-News, that's delivered to your email inbox every Tuesday morning. You can do that by going to cottongrower.com/subscribe. Also, be sure to follow Cotton Grower on social media. We are @CottonGrowerMag on Twitter And on Facebook, you'll find us by searching for Cotton Grower Magazine.
Cotton Companion Podcast is produced twice monthly by Tyler Hatch and Kim Henderson, our talented colleagues at World Headquarters for Meister Media Worldwide in lovely Willoughby, Ohio. I'm Jim Stedman, he's Beck Barnes, and we'll be back with you in a few weeks, the next episode of the Cotton Companion. Until then, keep those weeds under control and stay safe.
Yeah, he works and he works and he works and he works all day. God made a farmer